Tessa. This is Kate from Kate in Real Life. If you don't already know who she is, check out her channel. She pretty much just, what do you do on your channel? You're just an awesome person, really. Just being overall awesome, basically, is what her channel's all about. So definitely check her out. So today though, I'm finally for the first time on my channel going to be doing makeup on somebody else, aka my beautiful model right here. So this is the makeup I ended up doing. It's very winter fall with the deep vampy lips and just slightly soft cut crease, smoky eye type of thing. Somewhat natural. I think it's totally wearable. You can definitely kind of make it a little more toned down by giving a beautiful nude lip or something like that if you think the lips are a little too much, but I think it's amazing. She wears it beautifully. So if you'd like to see how I did this makeup look, then just keep watching, you guys. Okay, so I already have her face smoothed, perfected with some foundation, and then we'll go into the contouring and highlighting a bit after we get more of the face done. So I'm gonna go ahead and go on first with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, and I'm just going to buff that all into her eyes. And I like this kind of primer because it does kind of correct any discoloration in the eye as well and kind of just gives it a really nice even base. And honestly, I, on myself, would just be using my finger to apply because the warmth of your finger actually is really nice to apply on your eyes so that it's not too harsh on it because you don't want to really pull too much. That's why I'm using just kind of a light fluffy brush to apply it. Because she's kind of my client right now, you know, so I don't want to just shove my fingers all up in her eye area. That's not that professional. If we're trying to be professional today, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to then, before it starts creasing, set that. I'm going to be using the Kat Von D Shade and Light eye palette, and I'm going to go in with this bone shade. Any kind of close to your skin tone shade is good, just to kind of even the base out, and that way when you do go in with the darker colors, it doesn't stick to the first spot that your brush touches it. It just kind of gives you that even playing ground, I guess. Now that I have like kind of her base of everything done, I think I'm going to go ahead and get the brows done so that way you can kind of see what her face is going to look like a little bit better because I feel like that makes the biggest difference. And I'm going to go in with Soft Brown from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's just the Brow Wiz. And I am going to first brush out what she's got already.
Not a lot.
See what we're working with here. Not too shabby, not too shabby. I'm gonna kind of start just out of the center because I don't want to make her look too harsh by putting too much color in the inner area of her brows. So I'm gonna kind of start right where the arch would begin and go from there, and then I'm gonna kind of build up a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm gonna leave out the center area and kind of start where the arch would begin and extend it. And so you see it gets pretty sparse right around here, so I'm gonna just kind of go right below that, but still follow that natural shape. So much concentration on this part. The brows are like the most stressful. Actually.
Because I don't have any.
I mean, let's get real, most of us don't have brows these days. Oh, look at that difference.
Wow.
So a little puff is handy when you're working on other people. Mine's just from MAC, just kind of wrapping it into your fingers so that way that's pressing on the skin rather than your hands because, you know, my skin oils, her skin oils, the foundation I just applied can just get all messed up if I'm just constantly resting on it. And honestly, if you mess up, you can go in with concealer after because we're going to carve them out anyway. So it's not the end of the world or anything. And practice makes perfect. And then once I get a little bit down, I go back in with the brush and kind of comb through them so that it doesn't get all Sometimes the product can get a little gunky looking. Okay, so you can kind of see the difference so far. I just give it a little bit more shape and boldness so that it kind of frames her face. Livens it up a little bit. Okay, so now I kind of have the basis of it. I feel like I want to carve out and reshape a little bit underneath this brow just to make it a little more evened out, but that is okay because that is why we have concealer. So to carve out the brows, I'm going to be using the MAC Conceal and Correct palette, and I'm just going to use a tiny little concealer brush for that, and I'm going to use the lighter shade, which is this one right here. I believe it is NW, or maybe just W10. There we go. And then I'm just gonna take that and apply it directly under the brow. So that way when your tail, if it gets a little thicker than you'd like, then you can kind of correct underneath that. And it also kind of accentuates the brow bone and gives it that extra lift. Alright, and then I'm going to go back in one more time just to kind of comb through. Any heavy spots where the product kind of bunches up. Voila! Now the final touch, I'm going in with some Anastasia Clear Brow Gel just to make sure they all stay in place. And I also like to kind of flick up because I love bushy brows. And then I'll kind of do them more straight along the archway, but yeah, that front area, bush it out. To set that concealer, I'm going to go in with my Lorac Pro palette, just the white shade. Any white shade will do though, you do not need this palette by any means, but I like to accentuate the brow bone even more so. So I'll go in and do that, and this is just a matte white. So we're gonna go for just kind of a nice smoky, soft cut crease look today. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back into the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette, and I'm gonna further darken one by one each shade. So this is just slightly darker than that bone shade we initially used, and I'm gonna apply that into the crease. And you're literally just gonna go darker and darker and darker with each step we take. Now I'm gonna go in with this shade here and apply it even more so in the crease. And the darker the shades, try not to get everywhere as much. So I'm gonna be going slightly smaller with each brush as I move on to the darker shades. That way she won't look like she has a black eye.
I'm sure I'd look like a complete badass, but that's not.
Yeah, but not today.
Not today.
That's not today. So I go back in quite frequently with the large fluffy blending brush that I initially applied the lighter shades, just to kind of soften any edges, because as you go in with the darker shades, again, they will start to get creasy or bunch up, so this is just a safe way to kind of blend it out. But again, try not to like blend it all over the eye, or else your colors are just gonna start to look muddy and you'll lose track of the darker ones. Now I'm gonna go in with this shade. It's kind of a more neutral, light brown, and I'm gonna keep that right in the crease. So if anything, I'm gonna hold the brush more this way with the eye rather than this, so that way I can really keep it from going above the crease, because I want to keep it right in the crease. especially with the tiny eyes we got to work with here. Both have the tiny eye syndrome.
Yes, we do.
Tiny hooded eyes, so you need to try to accentuate the crease as much as possible because there's really not much going for the crease. No offense.
No eye cleavage for us.
So essentially you're just kind of like shoving the brush in the direction of the crease, so you're kind of accentuating it and like feeling the eye socket in there. Okay, so now you can see it's kind of accentuating the crease just a little bit more each shade you go. So now let's go ahead and take the slightly darker neutral brown in the palette. And again, I'm gonna angle it this way so that I do not hit above that brow bone or even go into the brow bone because I really don't want it to get too crazy out there. And then you'll also see that I like to kind of extend it. So her eye actually ends here, but since they are pretty small, I'm going to extend it almost in kind of a diamond triangle form this way. So that way it just kind of elongates the eye and gives us more space to play. And if you like, I had done in a previous video, I had used tape and kind of followed along the eye shape, so that way you don't have to clean it up later, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go in with a makeup remover wipe, so that way we will clean all of that fallout later. And then kind of extend it on this outer area to elongate the eyes. Going back in again with the fluffy blending brush, softening any edges. And since she has fairly small eyes, I don't want to take too much of the darker shades in the inner area of the eyes because that's really just going to close them off and make them appear even smaller. So placing the lighter shades in the inner areas will only make that area pop more, so that way they'll stand out and maybe appear a little bit larger, especially considering we're extending this outer area and then the lighter part will stand out more. Catch my drift? Now I'm gonna warm it up a little bit by using this more, oh, doggies.
For dogs.
Dogs want their appearance. Okay, I'm gonna go in now to warm it up a bit with this red-brown shade in the palette. Love this palette. It's kind of what caught my eye when I saw it the first time. Beautiful. Okay, and I'm gonna take that a little bit more in the crease. Again, just another step, and kind of accentuate it to give it that soft cut crease look. So we can kind of shape around the lid with this shade. Typically when I do a smoky eye, I like to put a little warmth so that way it doesn't look so muddy and kind of get lost. I mean, I like to use a little more neutral or cool shades in the crease just because it kind of emulates a shadow. But then adding that warmth will kind of soften it and make it less harsh on the eyes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take this just kind of ivory cream shade and I'm gonna dab this all in the inner lid area. And I'm gonna fake the lid being a little bit bigger by really putting it into that crease, because otherwise her lid is kind of just like this little area. And I'm also gonna blend it into that little inner tear duct area too. Again, to further extend the eye. the ways that you hold the brush always determines how the product's going to be applied. So since this blending brush is more kind of tapered on the end, but still really fluffy in the center, if I apply the product just on the tip and then angle the brush in a direction, the product is only gonna apply where that tip is, and then this will further blend, the fluffy edge area will blend that shade as you go. So that's why I really love brushes like this, because it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. You can double time it so that you don't have to take a fluffy blending brush and a pointed brush to apply the color. Kind of does it all for you. I'm gonna take this chocolatey brown shade up here, and I'm going to just further deepen up these outer corners just a little bit and blend it into that disconnect of the creamy ivory shade I applied to the lid. So you can see that darkness really adds a little extra dimension. And then I'm just gonna go in and reinforce any of that cream that kind of got faded away from the darker shades. A little bit of the black, and this is super pigmented, so you don't need too much. And I'm gonna take a tiny little blending brush. I'm just gonna dab it in there, and I'm just gonna smoke out around the lash line a little bit. And I'm gonna concentrate more so on the outer area as well. I'm gonna go back over it one more time with the whitest, coolest white shade in the palette and just reinforce that brow bone. Okay, so now before I clean up this lower area that had a little bit of fallout, I'm gonna go ahead and apply the gel liner. I'm using Inglot number 77, and I'm just gonna use a flat liner brush. And to re-oomph the product, because it kind of gets a little dried out, any gel product usually gets dried out, I'm gonna go ahead and apply a little bit of the Inglot Duraline. It's just a little dropper, and you just boop it, just a little dot into the product, and then you will just use that little section on the brush, and then it applies just like new. And I'm really just gonna apply a little line right on the corner, and that will be my guide. And then the same with this side. And I'm just gonna kind of dab it just a little bit on that inner area, because I don't need to really apply as much in that center.
Oh, that makes all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah.
God, I look like a Disney
Totally.
princess suddenly.
I like that you reference a Disney princess. That is why we can be friends.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Who's your fave? Who's your fave?
Now I'm going to go ahead and just take any fallout and follow that line. This is a good time to fix any eyeliner boo-boos you maybe came across as well. So it's nice and clean. All right, eyes, ready to move on for the rest of the face before we move on to the lower lash line. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with Naked Skin Concealer from Urban Decay, and I'm just gonna apply that in a somewhat triangle shaping underneath the eye, and this will, I mean, not only conceal, but also give a little bit of highlight under the eyes, as if she needs it with that bone structure. And then a little down the nose. X marks the spot.
And I'm ready to go to war.
A little tribal.
Native American is in my blood.
And then we'll accentuate the cheekbones. Ta-da!
We're good, let's go on a date.
You're ready, all set. And I'm gonna take the smaller side of the Beauty Blender and dab it all in. So when concealing under the eyes, you never want to keep it just under the eyes. You always want to drag it down just to like the edge of your nostril and up into that little triangle type shaping, because that way it doesn't accentuate the dark circle, because if you just put the product there, it's going to only make it stand out more.
I'm gonna say, I just learned something.
That's so professional.
I just learned that stuff.
Yeah. And you never want to drag the product under the eyes, you always dab it in, not only just to not stop the creasing, but also the skin underneath the eyes are super delicate, so you want to be really gentle and not pull on it or drag. And always use the Beauty Blender damp. Otherwise it will only suck up the product and kind of be pointless. Okay, once that's all blended in, I'm now going to reinforce that before it starts creasing. I'm gonna go ahead and use my MAC Pro Emphasize shade. This is just a really nice creamy highlight for under the eyes, so go ahead and look up. And before it starts creasing, I will also dab this in, and if anything, if you need to kind of blend it, then go from the outer corner to the inner, because going from the inner to the outer only gathers the product into the creasing. Now to set the rest of the face, I'm gonna go ahead and go in with MAC's Mineralized Skin Finish in Light, just with a really large, fluffy powder brush. The Real Technique brushes are super soft, so I love them for powdering all over the face. That way it doesn't scrape the product off. I feel with some powder brushes, they're so like scratchy haired that it kind of just gives streaks along the face. And you'll want to just pat the product in. You don't want to smear it, because then that will just disturb the foundation and concealer and everything that you already worked so hard to do. This is just the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit. I'm just really gonna kind of blend this warm shade along with Fawn, which is their cooler, lighter shade, just because I'm really just gonna go in real quick first and bronze before I do any crazy contouring. So I'm still gonna do it in the 3 shaping, so you'll wanna do from the forehead down to the cheekbones or the contours of the face, and then down to the bottom. So you kind of see that 3. And make sure you get the ear as well so that it doesn't stand out, especially with this cute little short hair she's got going on. You will definitely see her ears, and you don't want them to like pop out white and not blend with the rest of her face. So you can kind of see it already starts to kind of chisel it and give it a little more definition instead of just white out face. And then a little tip, she has very sharp jawbone, jawbone. So just to kind of soften it a little bit, I'm gonna put a little bit of extra bronzer just right there. Nothing too harsh, just so that it's a little less popping out. Now I am going to just very slightly contour the nose, so I'm going to go ahead and take that lightest fawn shade from the palette, and I'm just going to go down the bridge, or just to the sides of the bridge of the nose. Accentuate the little tip, just the tip. As if she needs it, but I'm going to take the fawn shade alone on a flat blush brush, angled blush brush. And I'm gonna just accentuate the cheekbones just a little bit for that contoured look. And you wanna basically take it from the top of the ear to the edge of the mouth is pretty much where that contour is preferably applied. She can cut somebody with that. That cheekbone. For some blush to add a little more color to the face, I'm going to take MAC's Melba, I believe. It's just kind of this light peachy shade. I'm gonna have you smile for me and we'll apply it right to the apples of the cheeks and blend it into that contour that we just did. So if the contour looks a little harsh at first, applying the blush kind of softens that disconnect, so that way it's literally blending into the contour. Now to further highlight the face and give it that extra shimmer, shine dimension so that she's looking poppin', I'm gonna go ahead and take the Becca Champagne Glow palette. Excuse the glare of the mirror. And I'm gonna take the Champagne Pop in the center, and I'm just going to dust that along the tops of the cheekbone. Basically, this gives her that J-Lo glow. Make sure that you don't get it too much under the eye though, or that could also settle in any fine lines and will further accentuate any of that, which nobody wants that. So, and then any that's left over on the brush, I'm just gonna kind of take it around there so that that way the highlight is really around this area, but more so along the tops of the cheekbones. Now with a smaller brush, I'm gonna take the same shade and apply it on the tip of the nose and right at the bridge, right where the center of the eyes are, and at the Cupid's bow and the tip of her chin. And then with the smaller brush, again, I'm gonna just kind of further dab that into the very top of the cheekbones. Now, if it's looking harsh in any way, then you can always take your powder brush that you used and blend it all together, just in case there's any disconnects in the products. Now, face is complete. Now let's move on back to the lower lash line. So now I'm basically going to tightline the inner waterline of her eyes with the waterproof Aqua Eyes Makeup Forever black liner. So go ahead and look down for me, and I'm going to lift the eye a little bit and apply it in the waterline. Now I'm going to make MAC's Eye Kohl in Costa Riche. It's just a really nice warm brown, and I'm going to apply that on the lower lash line. And I'm going to apply it just below the waterline because I'm actually going to apply a separate shade in the waterline. Now for the actual waterline, I'm going to use NYX Wonder Pencil in Light. It's basically a concealer shade. And I'm going to apply that inside the actual waterline, and this will make her eyes appear a little bit larger. And so that just brightens the eyes a little bit, having that lighter color up against the dark in the lash line. Now I'm going to take that darkest brown shade that I used with a very fine flat liner brush, and I'm just going to dab that into the Costa Riche MAC liner that I just applied. Just over the top to kind of set it. Now I'm going to take a small pencil brush with the warm red-brown shade that we also used in the top areas. And then look up and just buff that into the line as well. And this will just further blend it and make the eyes really stand out. Now I'm going to take a smaller blending brush with the first bone transition shade that we used and kind of soften up that line right there. Now this light warm shade. So you're kind of almost doing the exact same thing in reverse that you did on the top of the eyes, the upper area. And again, going back in with the pencil brush and further smoking it out. I'm now going to highlight the inner tear duct going back to my Lorac Pro palette, and I'm going to use that lightest shimmer shade in Nude, and I'm going to accentuate right around the very edges of the tear duct and blend it into that lower area and again up into the top. I'm going to apply mascara and then we'll be right back. So we added some mascara and popped on some demi wispies lashes so you can see the eyes and face are complete. Now the last thing to top everything off, we're going to apply a nice deep vampy lip. So I'm going to apply a lip liner, Night Moth from MAC. It's just a really nice deep vampy plum shade. Okay, and now I'm going to take Gerard Cosmetics lipstick in Cherry Cordial. It's just a nice deep vampy shade. So having the lip liner on the outer edges kind of gives it that ombre effect, so that way the lips appear even poutier, having the lighter shade more so in the center. All right, there's the finished look. So here's the finished look. So you can see the liner, everything just really pulls her face together beautifully. She's a great model. The lips, if you can tell, it has that little center area that is just slightly lighter than the liner, which I love. I'm pretty much always doing kind of that ombre lip these days because it really just gives it that extra pout. Not that she needs it or anything, but you know, it just looks that extra sultriness. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to go to Kate in Real Life and check her channel out as well because it's super fun. And you'll just, I mean, you can't help but fall in love with this girl. So I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye guys!